Okay, so I wanted to just share with you a little bit more from ACA, and I plan that this will be my last video relating ACA to experiences in the Lord's recovery. And I haven't really gone into much detail about how these relate. And I do think that there is a very personal journey for each of us, and our upbringings are affected in various ways. Even within the same family, different siblings have very different experiences. And so I don't want necessarily to spend too much time applying these principles for anyone but myself. But I did think that maybe sharing some of them could guide some of us who share some of the same trauma um, to maybe resources through which we could find some help, and to community with whom we can heal. So let me just go through these slides. Applying ACA principles to adult children of the Lord's recovery or other high control religious groups. And this is the third video. And any quotes or references are from ACA fellowship text, also called the Big Red Book, published in 2006, unless I otherwise note, but I don't think I took any other quotes from anything else or made references to any other texts. Okay, so these are just some relatable quotes, and then I just wondered if I should be paraphrasing more. Um, so I paraphrase for the most of the rest of the slides. Here are a few quotes, though. A secret life of fear, sense of impending doom, a deep sense of feeling unsafe or unlovable. Have you had these experiences in your Christian community? A secret life of fear, a sense of impending doom, a deep sense of feeling unsafe or unlovable. And that might be in your church community, it might be in your family, it might be in both. A fear of being shamed or abandoned. Shame is the deep sense that our souls are inherently flawed. Abandonment means more than being left alone or left at a doorstep. Abandonment can involve parental perfectionism, that your behavior never measures up. The critical inner parent berates or undermines the person at almost every turn. This critical inner parent is a form of self-abandonment, shame and abandonment, how our dysfunctional families controlled us as children. So, have you experienced shame, abandonment, which can include perfectionism, that you never measure up? And then, unfortunately, I block my own writing on these, and I don't have it elsewhere. Um, by becoming a people pleaser, we give up some of our identity, hoping to avoid being shamed, abandoned, criticized, or the object of anger. We believe that if we are nice, if we don't show anger, we will be safe. We won't be abandoned. In the process, we abandon ourselves, we hurt ourselves, and we hurt our relationships. And then paraphrased from pages 12 to 13, people pleasing, including trying to always be nice and to swallow our anger, can lead to deep depression and panic attacks. And I mention these because I have directly experienced them and or observed them within my own immediate family, related to the feeling that you need to people please in order to survive, in order to not be abandoned, in order to not be abused, further abused. But that in itself is a sign of abuse if we have to people please in order to be safe. Okay, people pleasing is dishonest and thus prevents meaningful relationships. Many of us stuff our feelings using alcohol, drugs, or other compulsive behaviors. It can be workaholism. It can be, not knowing how to relax, have fun, because we have to stuff our feelings. We have to stay busy. We have to, maybe it's going to lots of meetings and basically neglecting certain things about ourselves or our family lives that are necessary to address in order to be healthy. We may choose abandoning and abusive people that give us the familiar pain of being unwanted. So, this can lead a lot of our young people, I would say, our young adults, may not choose healthy partners because of the familiar pain of being neglected, of being unwanted, of being abused. Paraphrased from pages 14 to 15, we may become enmeshed and codependent with another person, having abandoned and continuing to avoid our own feelings. Enmeshment and codependence can lead to a lack of one's inner life and of true outer support. The high price of focusing on another person, if and when that person is no longer there, can be lethargy, disorientation, hopelessness, can be very, very unhealthy. What happens when that person is no longer there, either temporarily or permanently. Okay, adult children frequently assume they are wrong and take responsibility for others' mistakes, actions, and even feelings. So we think that we make somebody upset or we make someone mad or we have the power to make someone happy. And we take responsibility for others' mistakes, actions, and feelings. Often we are very quick to think that if there is an accident, we're the ones to blame, even if we really aren't. Guilty feelings stem from growing up without basic needs being met, including needs for something attention, positive attention. We were not allowed to ask for what we needed as children, but our needs or wants were dismissed or shamed, or we were dismissed or shamed for expressing legitimate needs or wants. And I just can't read it because the way my picture blocks the words. Sorry. Fear, excitement, and shame are familiar. They are home for us. For many of us, if we grew up in dysfunction, and that can include in a highly controlling religious group, fear, excitement, and shame are familiar. They are home. Our inner compass is oriented toward them. These mimic the feeling of being alive. These sensations can be likened to an inner drugstore stocked with fear, worry, stress, self-hate, shame, self-doubt, lust, excitement, inner drugs familiar from our childhood, which drive us to harm ourselves and or others. We're unable to recognize safety or serenity, and emotionally healthy people can seem boring or confusing to us. Having stuffed our feelings, the stored hurt can create a dissociative effect on adult children dissociated from our own bodies. Ailments such as depression, panic disorders, sloth, or hyperactivity are then common. Abuse, I think, maybe is what is blocked. Abuse can seem unavoidable to adult children. They can feel powerless to change a situation. And I definitely have experienced this. I considered myself kind of a fatalist. Like I don't have power to change my situation. And that can be very unhealthy. Yes, God is sovereign, but he also gave us a will, and he did give us a level of self-control and of ways. It says he doesn't give us more than we can handle, but he always gives a way out. So he gives us agency to find a way out of abusive situations, which some of us have a harder time realizing that. Okay, paraphrased from chapter 2. I just wanted to give some highlights from that. Denial is the glue that holds together a dysfunctional community. So if denial is lost, then the dysfunctional community probably can't be held together. That's why honesty, truthfulness is so important. And those who want to control others really can't handle denial being challenged. Secrets, ignored feelings, and chaos create a dysfunctional system that allows for abuse and unhealthy behaviors. These elements can seem normal to adult children, and feelings were denied as they developed, as adult children developed, so they may not recognize that anything was unpleasant or unhealthy in their childhood, because you grew up denying your feelings, suppressing your feelings, ignoring. Remember, the or the child hid, and had a false self that was portrayed to the outward, to others, so that the inner child could be quote, safe. So anyway, many adult children internalized parents' control, parents' perfectionism, dishonesty, rage, self righteousness, judgmentalness, pessimism, and other behavior and thinking patterns. And I would say these parents are not necessarily your biological parents, but also spiritual parents in your church group. You could internalize their control, perfectionism, dishonesty, rage, self righteousness, judgmentalness, pessimism, and other behavior and thinking patterns, whether the parents' addictions were to alcohol or drugs or codependence, with that inner drug store of fear, excitement, shame, pain, helplessness, worry, martyrdom mentality, rage, pettiness, doubting reality, and other distorted thinking. So you don't need that type of unhealthy drug store. You don't necessarily need outward drugs or alcohol to still be um, not sober, to be under the influence of fear, excitement, shame, pain, helplessness, worry, martyrdom mentality, rage, pettiness, doubting reality, and other distorted thinking. Such drugging, outward or inward, is conducive for abuse, and that is verbal abuse, nonverbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, religious abuse, sexual abuse, etc., which can be, and that abuse can be a single traumatic event or cumulative events over time. And it is conducive, this drugging is conducive for such abuse to go unnoticed, um, unchecked, for honesty to be punishable, and for neglect to seem normal. Abuse and neglect surface as self-abandonment, dissociation, soothing compulsions, addiction, codependence, workaholism, phobias, and chronic worry and anxiety. I think that the word being hidden is abuse, but um, these all can surface. The neglect and abuse can surface in our own behaviors as self-abandonment, disassociation, soothing compulsions, addiction, codependence, workaholism, phobias, chronic worry, and anxiety. Still paraphrased from chapter 2, all abuse, this person writing said that for them, all abuse is physical abuse. It gets stored in our bodies, whether our bodies are physically struck, hit, pinched, whatever, injured or not. Vulgar names, false labels and judgments, undercutting of one's worth, withholding praise, ignoring, neglecting, indifference, belittling, threats, shaming, hatefulness, these all can bruise us, even on the inside of our bodies and our brains. But these abusive patterns can be stored in our bodies. Silence can be a very severe form of abuse. And this is a very common form of abuse in the Lord's recovery and in families within the Lord's recovery, the silent treatment. From my experience, this is an ultimate form of neglect and abandonment, often coercing the child or the adult child to apologize. So when I've been treated with the silent treatment with my in-laws, sometimes I will just profusely apologize, like I'm so sorry, I'm so wrong, because I'm so hurt by the neglect and the abandonment, and it's a type of coercion to solicit such apologies. All abuse creates the same feelings: inferiority, fear, denial, hopelessness. Anticipation of trauma can create the same effects of actual trauma, which are terrors, tears, your vital responses of your organs like heart rate, etc. So just anticipating trauma can lead to the same effects as actual trauma. We have to tell our internalized abuser, you can't beat me anymore. You can't silence me. You can't shame me. You can't belittle or hurt me anymore. And I want to encourage you to say that to your internalized abuser, but also to any external abusers in your life. You can't beat me anymore. You can't silence me, shame me, belittle me, or hurt me anymore. Many of us have internalized messages, attitudes, and discontentment that we experienced from those who are parental figures to us. We believe we're inferior, we're bad, we're worthless, we're no good, we're ignorant, we're disgraceful, we're incomplete, wrong, faulty, undesirable. Such silent condemnation, self doubt, and false labels can be a normal course for our living or of our living, resulting in self-blaming, self-neglecting, self-harming, self-neglecting behaviors that include addictions, codependence, unhealthy attachments, and often extreme anxiety and chronic depression. We adult children disbelieve ourselves, our true selves. We don't trust ourselves, our inner feeling, our deep, truthful part. This is near the core of our woundedness, it says in the book. We are taught, and I like this, we are not taught how to have fun in dysfunctional environments. Whereas the Bible says God gave us all things richly for our enjoyment. So we should be those who have fun, who find things for fun and for free to do in our lives. Okay. And then just a few more quotes. These are from later chapters, and because I plan on this being my last video for a while, I just wanted to share a few more things. Adult children have been described as the walking wounded, strutting about in a state of emotional and spiritual bankruptcy while claiming to be fine. And I just want to say that I know of people that go along with all the motions, even in, quote, the Lord's recovery, and who've actually even lost their belief in God. They're in total spiritual bankruptcy, and yet appearing and claiming to be fine. But it's part of the defense mechanism to survive. We have developed adaptive, approval-seeking, socially acceptable behaviors that can be labeled as resilience. While problems and even our true person remain invisible, we survive adulthood without enjoying it. So there are a lot of people who say, I can't even believe you've survived, Ruth. Like, they just are in awe when they hear certain things. I'm just amazed that you're still alive. Well, you develop adaptive behaviors that can be looked at as resilience, but actually your problems are forced into invisibility, and even we are forced to remain invisible to try to survive, and that's not healthy. While facing these times, so this is toward the end of a particular chapter, I think it's chapter 4, while facing these times, and it's referring specifically to ACA meetings, but we learn to talk about our feelings and to be gentle with ourselves. We avoid isolation or becoming inappropriately angry or blaming others. We begin to trust the process of living life on life's terms. We are not alone. We realize that life today really is different than when we were children, even adult children, without a voice. So I just want to end with, if you identify with this content, you may be an adult child of alcoholism or other dysfunction, and that can include high control or what they call ultra-religious upbringings, but high control religious groups. In my experience, the Lord's recovery, that culture prescribes overdoses of shame and fear, even excitement, such as what is transmitted through this narrative of storms and turmoils. Oh, we're in a storm. Who will remain? Who will be purged out? This is a really, it's a very subtle dosage of excitement, shame, fear. And the Lord's recovery protects abusers, in my experience and observation. The system protects abusers. It silences truth tellers, or does its best to silence truth tellers. It neglects the vulnerable, and it champions faithfulness to the ministry over proper care for the family unit, including the marriage and the care for one's own children. So if you identify with this, I want to just encourage you that you may find it very helpful to attend ACA meetings. And there are many globally, internationally, in person and online. And I have friends who attend meetings based in Africa, based in Australia, based in Ireland, anyway, based throughout the world, depending on your time zone and your schedule and your language. So you can attend them online, or you can also attend them in person, which I also really highly recommend, because the less invisible we are, the better for one another in our healing. So thank you for listening. God bless you. God heal us. And I believe through our sharing and our honesty, hopefully that invisible child that got hidden somewhere, the most truthful part of us that is also our connection to God. If we become as little children, we can enter the kingdom of God. Anyway, I hope that little child can be brought out of hiding and healed. And and again, I believe that healing does occur the most collectively and in community. So thank you so much. Take care.